Hello there. We are back and taking an unconventional look at a surprising format that I ended up creating while I was on a cruise. The 4 decks that I have here are all TCG decks. 3 of these are legal. This one's not really TCG legal, but I kind of kept it balanced in terms of the format's power level and whatnot. But yeah, this is the cruise report meta-analysis, so to speak. So we'll get to do 4 deck profiles and then we'll talk about the interplay of each of these decks. But yeah, let's start with our basically the fan favorite, Thunder here. We'll do the extra deck second. So we will go ahead and start off with our main deck of triple Thunder and triple Dark. I like this ratio a lot. And then we're gonna have our doubles here. So the Matrix doesn't normally make the cut. We were playing with an opponent who was piloting this deck and prefers a more pure variant. So just to have all of the names so they're all there, I included the 2. I don't think this card's good at 1. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad. It can turn into Colossus more often than not, I would say. Even opening multiples of it is pretty nice. Got the 1-of fusion here, and then your normal summons. I think this is really the ratio to go with here. You can even bump this up. I like Solar more than Wolf, just because on its own, Solar I feel like can sometimes set you up better, especially because of your very high Bystial package count that this deck's playing. But yeah, you can definitely also play with the Wolf at more too. And then of course, right, the shining stars of this second half of this deck are the Bystials themselves. So we are rocking the full package here with the Baldrake, 2 Sorinir, could be even playing 3. I think this deck definitely could afford to do that. I just don't want to see like triple Sorinir in the hand, I think, or even multiple Sorinirs. You just want to see a Bystial, and this is a pretty high count to have. I think the fact that there are even Bystials in this format alone kind of silly, because they absolutely destroy the Exodia deck. It's so mean. And then, of course, the 2 branded spells and traps, you're playing both of them. They're just too good not to play. And then there's a nice little dragon package here, right? So we've got Starlight Seyfert, and then the 2 baby Chaos, 1 Ringo Worm. Oh, there was a crazy play with this Ringo Worm. I had the Mystic Mind set up. I was piloting Mystic Mind Destiny board, and I had my Thunder opponent mind locked, and they went and dropped this thing and then made a Synchro 10 with their Levianeer that they had summoned, with no effect, of course. They were playing, around mine by having essentially, and they, of course, they already had Beast set up, but no Bystial names on board. And so they hard make a Dispatter just as another name, and they kind of stumbled into the combo too, which is even funnier. Just because, like, I don't know if that was the line that they were going for or not, but it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. So needless to say, this dragon definitely came up. It also just lets you access your synchros way easier, besides having to cheat out a Chaos Angel basically by doing levels up to 10. So you have your Diabolos, your Levianeer, and your Emperor here. It's really hard to bring somebody on board with this card, but honestly, once you do read it, you do understand why it's so good in this deck. You're retrieving your banished dragons, in addition to being able to chaos summon itself out by banishing a light and dark, from your hand or extra deck, which is nice. So this is like a normal chaos monster. It can also send cards. You can also pendulum summon it, right, to get that effect, and then it's blowing itself up into the extra monster zone, and then you can bring it out from the extra monster zone by banishing lights and darks. And the fact that this thing is a level 8 is really what you care most about, because of this deck's stellar ability to turbo out with rank 8s, basically. So then let's go ahead and wrap up our monster and light spell counts that are engines. So these are our 2 big engines in the deck. Big old dragon engine, and then your thunder engine. It's, it really is fitting, given the name of the deck. But yeah, now you've got your power spells, right? We're maxing out on the Allure of Darkness here. It's super nice. Your power 1-ofs, right? You've got some good options here to start your combos or, continue your plays. And then this is where I think I might have messed up, because I gave this deck way too many answers to the rest of the format. And the fact that I'm even introducing a toxic card like this, I think kind of speaks for itself at this point. But I don't know. There was a slight bias towards making this deck very strong. I think next time we give it 1 of these, insane cards, not 3, because with the draw power that this deck has, and the in-engine ability to generate spell and trap removal, it's pretty gross, to be honest. So yeah, this deck was over-prepared for the format in a pretty unhealthy way. And just having your opponent flip this, knowing it's a one-of, it was a uniquely terrifying experience for sure. So that puts this deck a little over 40, I think. Now for our extra deck here, we have the typical legal Thunder Dragons. And then it would be nice to see Colossus at 2 to really see more of the pure variants come back. I think it's just hard to make a pure variant when you only have one Colossus, because pure is good at making Colossus, not necessarily Titan. Sometimes you can get to Titan, but Titan's usually your turn 2 play. Or if you're on Master Duel, you're just using an Anaconda to cheat this guy out. Then for your Link package here, it's pretty healthy. You've got your light dragons here, or your small dragons basically, to be able to turbo out seals. This is really to be used in conjunction with your baby chaos, basically your chaos space or your chaos dragons. So the light and darks should all be 1 card or 1.5 card seals. So it's a safe turn 1 play to make for sure. This also gets your dragon engine started. Cross Sheep, because I'm not giving this deck IP Appaloosa or IP Masquerena as well. That's way too nasty. It already has disgusting Link 4s and a way to climb into them. That's also removal. And then the rest of this deck, extra deck, is going to have a little bit of type variation. So we've got 1 XYZ here, just a Tum, just let the dragons go. And then we have your cheesy Synchro 10, and then the 2 that you actually have to make using the Ringo Worm. But you know, these can rip cards, which is so gross. And I'm not going to give them the Omni Negates. Let's keep this deck as legal as possible here without hand traps. So this was a no hand trap format, which I think really promoted some of the newer folks, if they were to partake in the game, to introduce themselves slowly. I know that they're very integral to modern day meta, but I don't know. I think hand traps are a big deviation from early Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's like your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. And that, you know, I think this deck kind of breaks that with some of the Bystials, but I think Bystials on their own are fine in a hand trapless format. So yeah, there's the Thunder deck, the Thunder Dragon deck. It's earned the dragon part as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 2 decks that I think stood the best chance. The first being Exodia itself. So this deck is going to be a little bit out of order, but you're using your Treasure Panda essentially to climb into your Exodia pieces. And so you do have to hard draw the head, but you know, in terms of the normal monsters, you're basically going to have them all right there, using the Treasure Panda to banish your spells that you're frankly just turboing out in this deck. I mean, it has so much draw power. You're on the triple Panda itself, but you know, you're going to have your Souls and Illusion package to do a little bit more digging, and you know, there's synergies with spellcasters here as well. So this deck is already been kind of fleshed out. There's multiple ways to get to Treasure Panda too. Having your Summoner Monk be one of them is nice because it's just 5 normal summons that you can use. This thing is pitching spells. It's not a once per turn too. So when you're climbing through Saryuja and using that draw power there, you're basically accessing this guy and summoning multiple pandas. So you'll probably, you know, see an opening, you know, move where you go for your panda. Otherwise, you're just using the panda and the monk here as level 4 extenders to climb into your rank 4s if you need to. Or just making another Saryuja. Turboing bodies is not a bad thing. You are on the bamboo package, so that doesn't only include 1 foolish because this is a hard once per turn. I think the original's pretty nice with these guys. I don't think there's a need to play Bamboo Sword anymore. I think that unless you're going for like a power tool build of this deck, that's just redundant equip spells at that point. So I think this ratio of 3-3-1 plus the, you know, these are your 1-ups basically, but 3 and 3 are really nice. You're on triple Cursed Bamboo if you weren't beforehand, just because this card is banishing itself to set another Bamboo equip card. And so having multiples of these to get to access to this is just really nice, because you're already going to get rid of one of these through your Foolish Burial Goods here, which is sending 1. So this is going to retrieve another out of the deck. And so I think having this at 3 is really great. And these are just your Pot of Greeds, of course. And then, you know, there is the Horus package as well. So, you know, you're going to be on triple Mseti, and then 1 of each of these. Really, primarily, you're just climbing into Coach King, Giant Train. Oh, that's the Thunder guys right there. But yeah, you're climbing into Coach King. So he's going to be one of your main draw guys here. So having the Horus is nice. And then yeah, just a couple other power 1-ups. This is part of your hard draws. You do need a hard draw. Double Factory and Exodia to win the game with this deck. So you've got 1 Day of Peace. This is a little bit sus because it's giving your opponent a draw. I think in hindsight, I would probably switch this out, even though the upside's really nice too of not dying the next turn your opponent attacks. I don't know. I think it's a hard sell, but you know, regardless, you've got your draws. You even have a single trade in here just to kind of try to work with it. We are on the triple upstart, of course. The double king Sar. Oh yes, the nice little popper up engine here is quite cute. Being able to send cards is great. You want these in the graveyard. You want these in the graveyard, and so you do this earlier rather than later to not kill yourself with the burn damage there. And then, yeah, just some spellcaster synergy to draw. But yeah, this is the power turbo house that basically, as long as your opponent doesn't have a Bystial, hopefully you should be able to combo your way to victory by hard drawing those. But yeah, really, really fun to kind of combo off with Exodia. This I feel like the turbo draw your Exodia deck is really the way to play this. I think the new cards, you know, in terms of making the Exodia fusion are fine. I just personally like turning Exodia into a big old combo. So I think the Power Tool build is also pretty cool. I saw that recently. I think that's a very viable way to play Exodia as well. But yeah, we've got our extra deck up next. So really the star of the extra deck, I've slowly come around, it is really triple Saryuja. You're going through 3 if you have a really, really good turn. Otherwise, you're at least trying to get 1 or 2 of those guys to pull it off. And then just some of your link 2s and 1s that don't really come up, but you know, if you need to search for the head, you can crash this guy, or you can use this one to retrieve pieces from your graveyard as well. So it's not totally over if you only get 1 of your dark factories, as long as you're not you know, you have a couple, you only have 1 left that you need to get out of the graveyard. This can theoretically get you out of a bad situation. And then your big old XYZ package here. So the rank 4s that I was talking about, this guy's just your draw extender, and then this is your floodgate if you need to end on something. And then we have the rank 8s, and yeah, this is where this deck kind of goes crazy because you have options for everything. You can make negates, removal, you can try to go for game, or more likely than not, you're just trying to draw your way into Exodia. But yeah, that was the, you know, tier 2 meta contender, I would say, in this little format we had here. And then, oh man, the reason we've brought Mystic Mind back is because I don't think this deck is viable without it. Frankly, it needs some serious floodgates to even be able to have the chance to go off. But yeah, Destiny Board's a fun win condition. You know, you activate this, and then during your opponent's end phases, you're placing 1 piece at a time, and they have to be in order, and they all have to be on the field. But as long as you get to place that last, you know, this thing resolves during your opponent's end phase to place the L, you win the game. So they take the L in that case. So the final, I do wish it spelled death like it does in the OCG. And then this is really what makes this deck more viable, is the fact that you can search the Destiny boards. This is 3 more copies of the trap by discarding any random card, and then it recycles your pieces. So let's say your opponent destroys them. This thing has a chance to set them back to the bottom of your deck and then become draw power based on the number of pieces. So it turns these things in your hand, if you happen to draw them, these can then become draws on your next turn. So it's a really cool card. I think it makes the deck slightly more durable if it gets blown up, right? You know, any of these pieces leaves the field. This thing says destroy all your pieces, send them to the graveyard. And so this thing can kind of reset the win condition and give you another chance. The problem, as I'm sure you've noticed, is I put Cosmic Cyclones in the deck, and that just made it so this thing can, like, you can literally snipe this thing out of existence from even becoming a win condition. So there's 2 ways to speed it up, right? You can, you know, if you have this trap, you know, this can set the clock 1 turn further. So that's nice. And then, yeah, this is really how you're trying to win the game. So multiple ways to access Mystic Mind. We're gonna give it a couple hard 1-ofs, and then even the comedic backup condition, which I had this thing going, and I think I was on turn 8 or turn 9 of the 20 to try to win. And yeah, I got waxed. All 3 of my Mystic Minds were completely destroyed or banished. It was pretty rough. This is the combo for Mystic Mind. If you just open these 2, you can keep the Mind Lock going because you give this guy to your opponent, and then they'll have more monsters triggering the Mind. Or not triggering, but setting up the Mind to one-sidedly impact the opponent. And then a little bit of draw power here. You're definitely not special summoning. And then 1-of to kind of board break. So let's get the win condition cleaned up here. We've now got the trap package next. So with our traps, this is pretty heavy. We are on triple trap trick. we have the Reckless Greed, we have the Jar of Greed, double Threatening Roar, and then there really is actually triple metaverse here. So yeah, really trying to set up your mind, really trying to draw your deck, and this is kind of fun. This came up a little bit. I do wish this was, you know, maybe Destiny board to start that win condition. I did not have access to Destiny board as much as I would have liked. So the draw power I definitely saw, but yeah, maybe the Threatening Roars were not the correct choice. I think having some compulsory evacuation devices instead might have been a little bit nicer to clean up the board a little bit, rather than just stalling my doom. So yeah, no extra deck on this guy, because not needed. Really fun stuff. And then this is the sleeper deck. I never got a chance to bring this thing actually to the light of day. Or actually, there was only one game, but it was not really a Toon heavy game. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we'll go through the Toon deck for part of the deck. This is the Toon, Kingdom deck here. So, we're on the Triple Kingdom plus the one way to search it. And then you're really on 3 of your best spells. So that includes the Bookmark, which is a searcher, Table of Contents as a searcher. If you have access to the Kingdom, you're getting to Special Summon. And then this is the Grabby guy. And then in terms of the monsters, you play 3 of the best Toon ever printed. Man, they need to make more Toons that don't get battle phobic, that don't have basically summoning sickness, and have Toons that can do things that like maybe clean up the opponent's field with a little more spot removal, or easier to summon like this guy. But maybe we need more of those, because the next best Toons, I really think Dark Magician is the next best one. I just don't know if it's right to play him at 3. So I like him at 2. The reason we've got the Red Eyes at 2 here is because we do have a small package here. This is your main normal summon. If you have to, you can normal summon this. But yeah, big Toon package. I love playing Toons. I think this is like the tightest way you can do it. You could even consider not playing Comic Hand. I personally like it, so I'm gonna do that. Too funny when it resolves, but there's your Toons right there. And then we've got the Kashtira side of the deck over here, which I think definitely did its job. I just unfortunately got my Kashtira Births Cosmic Cyclone, and it felt bad. So we do have the triple Fenrir and then double Unicorn. Fenrir is definitely better in isolation. This is kind of more your board breaker than anything else, but this can get the party started by fetching the Unicorn, and then when you inevitably have to have one of them die, Unicorn comes out, or maybe if you drew the Unicorn, you're going for your Birth. I think you might want to play one Theosis in here as well, just so you can have Unicorn be a 1-card combo, kind of like Fenrir, and maybe Fenrir should also have a Rise Heart. I think those are 2 considerations there. So right now, they're kind of just, you need other ways to kind of play them. You need to open both, basically, to do something. So, I don't know. I think they were good, though. This thing definitely broke boards. Getting to banish Colossus face down felt pretty good. So it's a small package. This thing is really the best card in the in terms of the Kashtiras, because this lets the 7s come out for free, and the Toon deck is definitely playing quite a few 7s. You've got 4 right here that are incredibly searchable to get. So it's something to consider, maybe bumping up as well. I don't know, Cash, I think, really synergizes well. My boy Rafa and I were cooking up in the lab, and we've known about Cash Toon for some time now. Shout out to my boy. All right, so then we've got triple Extravagance here. That's why you'll see some weird ratios in the extra deck, just because we're going to use Extravagance as draw power. It's so mean to the Mystic Mind deck, but I don't know. I think there's so much deserved hate that if I'm gonna bring it back, I need to have some way to just utterly cripple it. And so maybe these become MSTs, I think. I wasn't playing Field Barrier in the Mind deck anyways, so there was really no way to prevent it from destruction. I don't think I needed to give these decks Banishing instead, but I guess it is what it is. The Kaijus, I think, were very fair, and having my way to getting to Kaiju my way out of a Colossus is really important, because this deck hard loses to Colossus. But yeah, there was our Toon main deck, and then yeah, here's our wonky wacky extra deck. 1 Shangri-Ira, and then we're on the Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, and that is at 3 because you really want one of these. I think Toons and Burn is such a good strategy, because over time it snowballs to an unreasonable degree. One other nice 7, and then just a random smattering of links. So we've got Anima for our Red Eyes, Black Stones, and then we've got another seal there. It does make a couple dragons here and there. some random nightmares. Azalea is pretty cool. It can be like a nice SP at home. And then we've got an Apo and a Boral Sword. You know, random extra deck, really meant to be banished. But if you want to access it, it's got some stuff. It's definitely got some stuff. So this was the format. Toons barely hanging on with their Kashtiras as the main thing. I wish I had played them a little bit more. Mystic Mind Destiny board really had a hard time competing against the branded spells and traps. It just, you know, Beast is such a nasty card. Exodia definitely put in its work in terms of comboing to Exodia. So it did that very well. The King's Sarcophagus and really the Horus package did a good job of keeping it in the game because it actually drew into Exodia on turn 3, I believe. It won the dice roll, but could not get to Exodia on its turn 1 combo. So it was ending on I think it was a Hope Harbinger Dragon and an Imseti. And so it had the ability to negate spells, and then there was Ascend with Imseti, with King Sark. There was some pieces of Exodia in hand. So yeah, I had Send, a little bit of protection for the Horus, and then Spell Trap Negate. And it was just so sad. I got the Imseti was dealt with first. Or they find the way to destroy the Hope Harbinger with their branded beast. So they removed that and then started using their spells. And so they outed this thing with a trap, which was just so sad. Again, the branded spells and trap engine just put in way too much work. So there may need to be considerations for how to out that because, you know, frankly, you know, this deck just kind of ran away with it. I think it took 5 Ws. It was a 5-1. So Exodia only pulled it off once. There were some serious losses to be taken here. Yeah, these two were the absolute MVPs, especially Branded Beast, just putting in so much work. Anti-Spell did its job. I literally couldn't play one game, so it was an immediate rematch. That was disgusting. And yeah, it has such a high ceiling too. I think watering it down with a more pure Thunder engine was the exact way to play this because frankly, it was going to get out of control otherwise. So, and it still was out of control. It was in no way was it truly fair or balanced. But I think there was an attempt made, and there was some great dueling to be had on this cruise ship. So yeah, there's your meta report. Thanks.